Hello, everyone. Glad to see you back here at Silver Tears Tarot. And then, of course, a warm welcome to those of you who are new. So, today we're looking back into your soulmate situation a little bit to see kind of what has shifted. When I woke up today, it felt like some things had shifted. We know there's been a lot of change going on throughout the month. So, we're going to check back in on the relationship and the energies surrounding it and see what's new. So of course, these are general readings, may not resonate with everybody, but you get to pick a pile. So that helps you to get the best reading for you. And if you feel torn between storylines, it lets you watch more than one possibility. If you enjoy these videos though, and you feel like they resonate, please be sure to like and share and subscribe so that you'll be able to stick with me. And as I mentioned a few videos back, our flame is growing within this collective. This one felt like it needed to be a pick a pile reading today, honestly. Sometimes they don't because it makes more sense to go ahead and sum it up with a single reading, but not today, not for what we're looking at. So let's go ahead and get started. It'll be time to pick out your pile here in a moment. So we got a theme this time with the decks, but in case that doesn't impact your choice, so it's different shows, movie, then you can also look at the dice that I paired with them. So you can choose pile one. It's the Stranger Things deck, and it has the purple die. And when I rolled it, you can see the two came up. So we've got that one. Then the other deck, the one next to it is the Big Lebowski deck. This is a blue die, and when I rolled it, the moon came up. And then the third deck is the Avatar The Last Airbender. Here we go. I don't know if that's going to matter to you if it's specifically your sign, but let's go ahead and think about which one is going to be yours. So, again, don't overthink it. Just let yourself drift toward one of the piles. Breathe. Use your intuition. You can always watch more than one reading if you feel drawn to more than one pile. And of course, if you need to pause the video for a moment to make your decision, you can always do that. So if you chose pile one, stay tuned. It'll be up in just a moment. For pile two or three, you can get the linked timestamps down below. So go ahead and pick your pile and let's get started. Okay, so here we are with pile one. And so this is going to be the Stranger Things deck. When I rolled the die, it came out as a 2. So if 2 is a significant number to you, that may mean something. And this is going to be, like I said, just kind of a look at your overall picture with your person because it feels like things have shifted. And honestly, with some of the energies that have been happening so far this month and what we're still kind of in the middle of, I'm not really surprised that we've seen some shifting there. So we'll take a closer look, see what's happening. But we're going to start by first looking at the current energy between the two of you. So let's see what comes out there. And this is that current energy that's flowing between you right now. Even if you're not in communication, you'll have energy flowing between you. So we have the two of spokes that has come out. So two of spokes, spokes are water energy. So this is like the two of cups. But with it being in reverse, it's about a lack of partnership. It's about the two of you not being aligned together. So you may not be in communication. And I know some of you are not. I know some of you have been in communication, but you're still not feeling real aligned. So this makes a lot of sense to me, just from conversations that I've had with you. But we'll take a closer look at it when we go to clarify. Um, let's now take a little bit of, let's get a card to see just their personal energy. So this is the two of you together, your current energy. This is going to be just them. That's too many cards. If I have a bunch of them come out like that, I just take, and these are neither one of these. We don't want either one of those. Sometimes they just fall out. Okay, so this one we definitely want. So we want the High Priestess, but this is that energy that's happening with just them. So in the upright, we see, so there's 11, it's the High Priestess, and we have, really, it's the High Priestess utilizes intuition, is able to receive those downloads from the universe, is able to interpret those and move forward with them. But they're in their current state, that's not really happening. So they may not be super connected to their higher self and with the universe, or they may not know how to interpret some of the messages that are coming through. So that's interesting because we've got a kind of a disconnected feeling here with the lack of partnership. And then we have a similarly disconnected sort of feeling here. Sorry, there's like a hair right there. I have to move it. With their own energy and that high priestess card. So let's take a closer look at how they feel, and we're going to look over here at how they feel about you. We're going to look at how they feel about you, and then we're going to look at how they feel about the relationship. But first, okay, so the Page of Scoops. The page is a youthful energy. Scoops is earth energy in this deck. So this is like the Page of Pentacles. And so this is a very much a learning card. Like I said, it's a card of youth, but it's a card of learning more than anything else. So is it that they feel like, and we'll find out when we clarify, is it that they feel like, and they definitely do. I can just tell you, they feel like you're teaching them an awful lot. But there's also this feeling like maybe they get the sense that you're learning together. This is really interesting because that's kind of a deep feeling for this situation for somebody who's not especially well connected to feel like this is a learning experience for both of you. Feels a little bit more like taking a step back. Let's take a look at how they feel about the relationship itself. Okay, so we have the Ace of Spokes. I just take the top card when several of them come over, unless I'm guided to take more than that. So with the Ace of Spokes, this is again, it's emotion. It's that water energy. This is like the Ace of Cups in the traditional tarot. This is how they feel about your relationship. So that is love. Love that has just, it's overflowing and it's come to them. It's like the inception of love. Your relationship is the inception of love to them. Can't really wait to clarify that one. That's going to be interesting. Because they're feeling like there's not a lot of partnership. They're not currently super connected to their higher selves. Their um, where all those intuitive answers come from. They're not really plugged into it right now, but they do feel like there's a lot of learning that has to take place. Whether they're catching on to the fact that it's both of you, or whether they just know they're learning a lot. They also feel like this relationship is just, it's a lot of love. It's a lot of emotion. So before we get into start really clarifying some of these, let's take a look at what is what's the struggle. So in a lot of these situations, and we've talked about it, the people are in separation, or otherwise something is not going especially well. Sometimes you're not in separation, but the communication just isn't great, or not quite sure. Anyway, let's take a look at that struggle. This is, kind of that crossing energy. What is it that is creating issues here? Okay, so just taking the top one, we have the 10 of dice. Dice is um dice in this deck is air energy, and this is a painful ending. It's a difficult and painful ending. And so is it, I'm getting the sense that it's the ending that something that has come before, but it could potentially even be an ending that has happened for you guys if you are not in separation. But I feel like it's not. I feel like it's something that came before, and maybe it's compounded by experiences that the two of you have had. But this feels like, yeah, this is energy of something is bothering them, that has come before. There was a painful ending, or um, and it's confusing. It's a little bit of a confusing feeling. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we clarify it, because I asked what the energy was of, what was kind of blocking you, but I'm wondering how much of this is not just them, but also applies to you. 'Cause I feel like there might be some pain in your past that is helping to block this from being successful as well. So I'm looking forward to clarifying on this. But let's go ahead and get a feel for what's likely to happen next. And this is that if you've been watching these readings, then this question is not how things turn out. It's really what do we expect to happen next? What is the energy favorable for? Because, we have free will, and that means that when the energies are going to be moving us into a direction, but then we still have that ultimate say in how things come out. So, all right, seven of strands. We have some fire energy. So strands are fire energy. Seven, it's like a seven of wands. And this is a very confident seven of wands. So confidence is going to be building, and this sense of feeling protected, this sense of feeling like um, it's like having that high ground. And in fact, in some decks, you'll even see it depicted as the person who is kind of people are coming at them, but they've got the high ground. So that's interesting. All right. So we've got, just as we look into the current energy between the two of you, there is not a great sense of partnership right here. But then when we look into your person, we see that they're not especially connected to their intuition right now. So they may be having a tough time kind of navigating things. Um, this is a huge learning experience, probably for both of you, but they are at least recognizing that it is a huge learning experience for them. And there is just a lot of love here. So when they think about your relationship, they think of love. They think of new, beautiful love. This is amazing, this feeling that comes from this card when they think about your relationship. So I'm curious to understand what it is that's holding you back, because it's the pain of an ending, maybe the pain of an ending that they shared as well as a pain of an ending that you shared. But there's confidence coming. That's something that's coming in the future. So, this has been the Stranger Things deck. We are going to clarify with the Tarot of Dragons, because I would clarify with my Dungeons and Dragons deck, but it's not with me right now. So, another deck that works incredibly well here and kind of has a similar spirit is the Tarot of Dragons. So, we'll start with the Two of Spokes here to understand why the Two of Spokes is here in the negative. And so, we have both of our cards. We'll take the top one from the set that fell out, and then we had another singleton fall out. So, we've got the Five of Pentacles and the Ace of Pentacles. And let's go ahead and turn these upside down so that you can see them, even though they did come out in the reverse. So this is the Two of Spokes, which was telling us we don't have a great partnership. And just bring this one in. So this is telling us, we don't have this great partnership. Right now, something's getting in the way of it. But we also see that something is changing, and it's actually changing for the better. Okay, this Five of Pentacles in reverse, when it's in the upright, there's this sense of sort of you're lost in the cold, and you have the ability to come in, but maybe you're not letting yourself come in, or it's not necessarily like a loss. It's like you're out there and you're. It's almost like a pity party sort of feeling, coming off of this card today. And I absolutely do not always get that. But here I get this is not a pity party sort of feeling. So that's interesting. And so the Ace of Pentacles is a door opening. It's a new beginning. It's a more sure new beginning. But it is also incredibly slow. So that's something to think about. Here, though, the door is not opening. So we've got a lack of partnership. There is a lot of sort of coming into a less self-pitying sort of energy. But there is also this feeling of things not really opening up and not really moving forward. So we'll have to take a closer look at that one as we get in. That's really interesting. So that's the current energy. Let's look at their current energy, because remember, this is between you. So things are changing in your own personal attitudes right now. You may already know this, but there's this feeling of a lack of partnership because things are not opening up, not changing. And part of the issue, I believe, would be the fact that they are not necessarily, your person is not necessarily connected to their intuition. So let's get some clarifiers on that one. This is the High Priestess in reverse. And we have the Hermit. So that's a good sign. The Hermit has them going into their thinking cave, which gives them that greater opportunity to connect with that intuition. All right. And so just taking this top card here, we have the Star. And so the Star it's about a wish, it's about hope. It's also about moving in the direction that you are divinely being guided to move. So these are both incredibly wonderful cards flanking this High Priestess. What it tells us is your person is not currently connected with their higher self, with their higher power. But this Hermit is where they take the opportunity. And so if they've walked away and they're sort of in hiding mode right now, they will be given the opportunity to, and I don't know that they're going to seek it, but they're going to be given the opportunity to go off into the thinking cave, um, and to become more connected with their divine guidance. That's a little bit of a shocking experience for somebody who's not necessarily looking for it. So be aware of that. But there's something to think about there. So you could see some change over here in the next steps. We see this sense of kind of almost confidence and having that high ground. And it makes me wonder what kind of movement they've had over here, because in their current energy, they sort of aren't connected up, but they have every opportunity to move in that direction. And here's divine guidance wanting to come right out for them, almost to lead them to it. So let's take a look at this page of scoops. And so this was that learning card. This is how they see you. You have really been making them learn. And I'll hold the cards up here in a second so you can see them once I've got both of them out. But let's get one more clarifier for you here, for the page of scoops. So that's a youthful energy, but I sure have a lot to learn. I'm learning a lot here. Maybe even for some of you, they acknowledge that both of you have a lot of learning to do. Because, earlier when I pulled this high priestess and I was like, okay, so they're not really connected, well connected up with their higher power. I see here that the capacity definitely exists. Um, so they may very well be thinking, a little bit more deeply or and able to take that step back. Okay, we got one. All right. So this is the Chariot. Let's set these guys down and let's take a look here. We've got the Sun and the Chariot. Wow. Okay. So this is about how they feel about you. When the sun comes out for any reason, um, that's that's just going to be happiness, positivity, love. This is a fantastic feeling for them to feel that much around you, that much happiness and love. It's you probably aren't surprised by it because you've been there. You know what passes between the two of you. But this chariot is really interesting because this is movement. You are not just making them learn; you are also making them change. So this piece down here, where they're going from being less connected with their higher self to being given the opportunity and to being shown the direction that they need to go. This is all they believe coming from you. So you have, you make them incredibly happy. You're also giving them a lot to learn and encouraging them to move forward and really learn it and do the growth. And this is amazing. That's this person sees you as somebody who helps to move them forward like a catalyst for their growth, but it's in a very positive way. Even though maybe the partnership isn't feeling very strong right now, there's also this lack of a pity party feeling over here is far more significant than I think I made it out to be. This is like, becoming, not that victim mentality, and it's both of you. And so that is really going to go a long way toward this confidence here. Let's take a look at this Ace of Spokes. And so remember, this Ace of Spokes is about how they feel about the relationship, and it is love, it is emotion, it is beautiful. Oh, but we have the Tower in reverse. So that is about something that's maybe not being allowed to resolve. We've got an issue that's not being allowed to resolve within this relationship. Um, and if I had to guess, I would say it's relevant to this high priestess. So when I have just one single card fall out, I will often feel like I need to pick that one up. We also have the lovers. Holy cow, you guys! All right, so um, let me try and get this piece put together for you, because a lot just happened. So we have the Ace of Spokes, which is like the Ace of Cups. That's how they feel about your relationship. So it's incredible love. It's extreme love. It is, um, overflowing emotion. But there is something here that is not being confronted. There is something that very possibly they can't confront it because of this, high priestess in the reverse sort of, experience here, where they're not able to reach in and truly access, their spiritual understanding and teaching, but it's coming for them. Okay, but they haven't got something resolved here, and it's part of what's creating this issue with the partnership in your relationship, because they see you as partners. The lover's card is sometimes a choice card. Sometimes it is about having a choice in love. Sometimes it's about not having a choice. In this case, it is just about that love. It is about the soulmate, experience. It's about, this is them feeling like they have found the person. that, but there's something that's unresolved here. So this is wow. That just made that so the Ace of Spokes, with it being that water energy, was already going to be powerful, but those two coming out with it, the Lovers and the Tower in reverse, my goodness. Okay, so the Lovers is that no, this is for real. This is a deep connection, a deep soul connection. They're still working on figuring this out. They know they have a lot to learn. They know you make them very happy, and they also know that you've caused them to really start moving, but they've still got some things that are unresolved here. So let's take a look here, because I have a feeling that some of that lack of resolution is going to turn up here too. And so this was pain of an ending. I know that it's them. I feel like it's both of you. So we're going to take a look. Oh, that was quick. All right, so just taking the top card, we have the Ace of Swords, which is the ace, it's the sword of truth. Okay, so if it is in the reverse, the way this is feeling is there is something that isn't, not necessarily isn't true, but isn't, the truth isn't known. How about we'll put that? So that is a difficult ending, but the truth about it isn't really known. Something about that is not completely. Oh yes, and I thought maybe I just set that in the upright, and it was definitely not supposed to be. We also have the Two of Swords that is coming out here, so there's a decision to make. Okay, but it's a tough decision to make if you are being impacted by the pain of an ending, and you know that there's been something here that isn't quite true. So this is what's crossing you. This is what's getting in the way. And it feels very much like it's a construct of just fear. It's not something that is necessarily that needs to be getting in your way. Now, until they get this piece together with the high priestess and they start getting in and understanding their intuition, turning this tower upside down, facing that, etc., this could still be very difficult. But as you're looking at it, you've got a difficult ending that has happened here, and they can't seem to get past it. They're hung up on something, and this could be applying to you as well. But they're hung up on something that wasn't represented properly, wasn't interpreted properly. Something about it isn't true or isn't right, and there's a decision that is hanging in the balance as a result of it that hasn't been made. But they're not making the decision. You see how the dragon's kind of hiding his face in there and won't even look out. It's a decision they won't even look at. They won't even make, and it's because of this painful ending that has happened here. But we know that we get to confidence. So let's take a closer look here at that one and see what's happening. Let's get some clarifiers for the Seven of Strands. Um, and remember, that was like the Seven of Wands. So the first one we have here is the Nine of Swords in reverse. Well, that's promising, because the Nine of Swords is a very anxiety. It's an anxious card. It's a I can't sleep kind of card. This is the one. Okay. Sometimes when they all come out, I see a couple of them that need to happen, but it was just one that time. All right, and this one is the Page of Swords. Okay, but it's coming out in the reverse. All right, so let's break this down. We've got the Seven of Strands, which is that fire energy. It is saying, I have the high ground. I'm capable. I'm feeling very confident about being able to do this. The anxiety is starting to fall away. So here's somebody who's been experiencing some anxiety. And when you have a lack of a connection with your higher self, when you know that you're dealing with, a situation like this, you've got a soulmate, you've got a lot of love, you're not feeling that strong partnership right now, that can be pretty anxiety inducing. And so it's not surprising to me that they've had this, and that you may have had this, but it looks like you guys are going to you're going to get past it in a way that allows you to move forward, but it still could be very challenging for you. There's an edge here of fear. So this Page of Swords is about communication, but it's also about transformation. So pages bring communications, and swords are air energy, which is deals with intellect and communication. The butterfly here is about transformation, but when we see it in the reverse, we see communication. It's transformative communication, really, that isn't happening. So you've got confidence, you have all the right recipes in place, but it's not somehow coming through, or it's possible that the communication is not quite happening. So um, again, this is not necessarily how things turn out. This is kind of that next step. It almost has this sense of they come out of the woods enough to to write you a text, but then they have trouble sending it. That sort of thing. So you've got um, that current energy between the two of you of we really feel this acute feeling of not being in partnership. I feel like this door isn't opening, but by the same token, I'm pulling myself up by my bootstraps a little bit, which is technically impossible, but we know what it means. It's sort of bringing yourself up even when you don't feel like you can and when the odds are against you. And so that's happening. Both of you are doing that. For your person, you have that sense of them not being super connected with their higher power, with them not necessarily being able to access some of those messages, but they're going to be able to. They're going to a place where they're going to go reestablish that connection, and it really is a reestablishing a connection. Connection. They have had this in the past. Um, I get the strong sense that this person is not new at this. They are not brand new to establishing a spiritual connection. They are capable of it. It is just maybe not kind of the mode that they were in when you came across them. But they've got the hope, they've got the wish, they've got the ability to kind of the divine to reach in there and understand their own divine purpose. So that is something that needs to happen, but it hasn't yet. It's kind of happening now. That's in their current energy. But we saw here when they think about you, they think about lessons. They also think about the incredible time that they had and the fact that they can't hold back from continuing to go in, really like in your direction. And who could avoid this? This is how they feel about, or who could walk away and stay away from this? Because this is the relationship that is, they think about it as being just love, unbridled emotion, soulmate connection in here, but something that's unresolved. So they're still working through this piece and it's through some of this learning and through some of this. I think this is part of what is unresolved as well. So we've got pain from the past, difficult ending, possibly on both of your parts. But something here hasn't been true. And even in the interpretation of this, it's locking you both up. It's giving you the inability to make the decision that has to be made going forward here because of this. I really feel like this is not so much that someone has obscured the truth, but there's a kind of a lack of interpretation of what really happened with this difficult ending. And it could even be, if you go as far back to as childhood, you could have something where you've got a difficult ending. Somebody walked away, and as an adult, it might be something that you understand completely, but as a child, that interpretation was not there. Maybe didn't have the capacity to understand what was truly happening. But there is something positive coming. That confidence is coming. There, and that's in that next step. I'd like to understand in the extended reading when we go to that, what happens kind of beyond this next step because this is intriguing. We see that the anxiety has started to fall away. The confidence has started to come in. They feel like they have that high ground, but then we feel like that transformative communication is difficult or not happening. Like they can't send the text or something like that. So we'll take another look and understand kind of what's going to happen here in the future. I also want to I want to dig in a little bit on like the nature of your relationship because here we're getting that they feel like the relationship is super deep, that they're learning, and we're going to kind of we'll look at these two together. So this is how they feel about you. Here's how they feel about the relationship, but we're going to look at those a little bit more deeply and start to understand maybe a little bit beyond this piece right here and definitely what is going to happen kind of going forward. So that's what we're going to do when we go out to the extended. I hope that you are going to see that I'm going to see you there. And so that's where I'm headed now. But I would say if this one has resonated with you, please do like and share and subscribe so that we can stick together. I'll either see you in the extended or I'll see you in another reading down the road. And now for pile two. So, for those of you who chose pile two, this is where I rolled the die and I got the moon. And we are using the deck for the Big Lebowski. So if you're into that and if you chose it because of that, then hopefully you're also in for a super awesome reading. We're going to look at the energy between the two of you to start out. Because remember, we're just kind of looking at that big picture energy. It feels like things have shifted between the two of you. And we want to understand what the new picture looks like. So, okay, we have one card that has come out. We have the Four of Cups. Uh-oh. So there is a card of sort of disappointment. It can be boredom, but I get the sense of probably disappointment a little bit more than that. So we're going to go ahead and clarify here in a moment. And we'll be clarifying with the Modern Witch Tarot. These two like to work together a lot. But we're going to start with that Four of Cups. So the Four of Cups is, like I said, it's that current energy between you. So there may be some kind of disappointment, feeling that things aren't quite right. Let's take a look at the current energy. If we zoom in on just them, what is happening with your person? Current energy with your person right now. All right, we have the Knight of Swords. Okay, so the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords, definitely a card of action. And in this case, it's communication. It's also, so the Knight of Swords is that rapid forward movement. So your person is wanting to move forward and sort of a decisive way right now. So when we clarify, I'll be super interested to hear what that means. Let's look and see how they are feeling about you. How is your person feeling about you? Because right now they've got the ability. Oh, I dropped one. And it fell face down. Okay, we won't take it. We have the Nine of Swords. And so I take just the top one when I have multiples fall like that, unless I am guided to take more than that. So we've got the Nine of Swords. That's for how they're feeling about you. That's anxiety. So you may have your person may have a sort of an experience of anxiety. I get the sense of anxiety and depression together. So be looking for that or be aware of that. That may be part of what's playing out here. So that's how they're feeling about you. I'm also getting the sense that you two may not be in good communication right now. So you could be in some communication, but maybe not good communication. And with that disappointment there, I guess that doesn't really surprise me. Let's see how they're feeling about the relationship. All right, so we have the Eight of Wands. Well, things are definitely wanting to move there. So the Eight of Wands talks about fast movement, energy that moves quickly. And, so the relationship itself may have seemed like it had its own engine for a little while, seemed like it was moving very quickly. Um, but that's something that really stands out for them. And I guess, so I'm sensing a lot of struggle here with there being a little bit of disappointment here with the anxiety over here. This isn't necessarily bad, even though Walter has a gun in this picture. It's that quick, decisive action. And if you remember the scene, that is absolutely what is happening there. So your person's current energy is of quick, decisive action, but not necessarily something negative. Yet we've got this anxiety, we've got this disappointment, we've got what is happening here? So we know that there's a bit of a struggle. We know that a lot of you are experiencing situations where things are not going super smoothly. So let's just understand what that struggle is. All right. So we have the Queen of Pentacles. All right, we're definitely going to need to get in and clarify this one to see what it means, because the first thing that comes out is self-worth. And the struggle is, okay, that you have the self-worth, sufficient self-worth that not to, I don't want to use that word tolerate, but you won't work with, you won't stand for, you don't respond to certain things the same way that you used to, maybe before you started building up your self worth. So your self worth is causing you, you are the whole Queen of Pentacles. And that's creating a little bit of an issue when you see some of the behavior that you're being presented with. It's difficult for you to maybe know how to respond. So let's get a feeling for what is, and I'm thinking about this before we go on to this. I feel like this Queen of Pentacles, it's tough because she does have the self-worth. She is a nurturing queen. She is here to do great things and to be the head of the household for that Ten of Pentacles. The Queen and King of Pentacles are the heads of household for that Ten of Pentacles household, which is just that incredibly happy household, has all the resources needed. Love is there, it's supportive, it's beautiful, and that's you. And so this is a bit of a struggle for you if this person feels anxiety when they're around you. They have a hard time maybe pulling that together, and yet there's so much fast moving energy when they think about the two of you together. It's entirely possible that this could be a bit of a struggle, and you could be saying, hold on, that's not really how I wanted to do things. So let's see what's likely to happen next. And this is that what's likely to happen very soon next, not necessarily way down the road. All right. we don't always get reversals in this deck because it's super obvious when the deck is upside down. And so when I put it away, I always put it up correctly. Like I always put it away right side up. But the deck doesn't mind to be read in the reverse. And so sometimes you'll see stuff come out in the reverse anyway. So what we see likely to happen next is that Five of Swords. Okay. So the Five of Swords is it's like an anxiety within the self if it's in the upright. It's like an anxiety within the self. It is anguish. It is I won a battle, but at what cost? There are a lot of self doubt, sort of just needling at you, sort of feelings that happen there. In the reverse, though, we see a little bit more of a sense of comfort, a little bit less of that needling sort of feeling. Let's take a look now. I am just excited to clarify and understand a little bit more about some of these. So, like I said, we're going to use the Modern Witch Tarot to clarify. And here's one I think I've never used on this channel before. Actually, both of these I've never used on this channel before, but the decks do work really well together. So we're first starting with that Four of Cups, just to understand. So there's some disappointment here between the two of you. What's that about? What's going on? Is this a single card? I'll take it. Okay. Well, so there's some disappointment, but there's also an incredibly, look at this picture. There's an incredibly tumultuous sort of life changing thing that's happening here. The top of the tower is being struck by lightning. You know, people are throwing themselves out of it. Like, this is huge change. This is cannot continue the way that it was. So there's a disappointment here. Um, and let's take another card to understand the Four of Cups. So, new perspective. All right. So, you got to a point. You got to a point where, and this is just the way that it feels in these cards, and I think this applies to a lot of you. You got to a point where you realize that this, the way that you were, there's disappointment, but it's not new. You've been feeling this disappointment, and there was a point where you got to a place and said, "Oh, you know what? This cannot continue the way that it currently is. This is actually just not going to work for me." Super disappointing. It's possible that you began to draw back, that they drew back, that they hid. There's this sense here. This is a person who likes to get very excited, but they also hide, and you're not chasing them. So there was a reading not too long ago where I observed that we had this runner chaser dynamic going on with a lot of our folks, except that the chasers were not chasing the runner. And this is like your reading, if that's you, and I get the sense that, like, you, um, because of that disappointment, like I said, it's not new, it still exists, but there was a new perspective that came out, and a realization that I can't really continue things the way that they are. It will have to change if we're going to do this. Um, so the Knight of Swords, let's look into their energy because they've got this decisive sort of energy. There's a kind of a little bit of I'm watching you sort of energy, but that's absolutely not the first thing that comes out. So we have the Queen of Swords coming out in reverse, and interesting. So for them, they are watching you a little bit. The Queen of Swords, these cards are curved up a little bit. The Queen of Swords in reverse is an accepting sort of energy, but it's also a slightly less discerning sort of energy. Um, Whoa, it really wants to come out. Okay, and then we have the Three of Pentacles. So the Three of Pentacles is it's an air of working together. Okay, so your person, as they're feeling this decisive sort of energy, is thinking about. Uh, This is interesting. I'm trying to figure out how to say it. They're thinking about how to be more accepting, how to work more closely together. They recognize why you are disappointed, and on some level they want to fix it. But what about this anxiety? I feel like I have to get into that. So we've got this anxiety here. How they feel about you. Okay. So we've got the Eight of Swords. Let's see what else wants to come out with that. The Eight of Swords is like having yourself in a mental prison, but it's one that you could walk out of, okay? And so you'll notice like here she's not actually in a prison. She could just walk away. The blindfold is what makes it difficult. People tend to overthink when they can't see the big picture, when they can't truly understand, and that creates a lot of this anxiety here. We also have the 7 of cups. This is a person feeling like they don't have any options. They don't have anywhere to turn, anywhere to go. So this is a really intense sort of situation that seems like maybe there's a reason they can't talk about this. They can't talk about this with anybody. And um, this is part of what has caused them to bolt. It's like this person has bolted, whether they have completely left your life or they have simply backed off to a point where the relationship just is not at all what it was before and it does nothing but make you wonder. They're wondering too. They're wondering about you. They're wondering about themselves. They're wondering about, they feel like their hands are tied, like one or both of you is in a relationship and they can't figure out how to move past that. It could be that you're just sitting there wanting to, okay, that's fine. We're both in a relationship. That's fine. Let's go ahead and be friends. They can't even see their way to doing that because they are so overwhelmed with emotion. There's something that I feel like we need to get at there. Let's see how they feel about the relationship itself. So we've got one card. I think we have, yes. So the 9 of Wands in reverse, and then we'll take this Queen of Wands that's on top. So interesting. All right, let's just look at these together. You have fast movement, but you have somebody who basically, so this is that I'm still standing. I'm the wounded warrior. They have the psychological wounding, but they're still there. They're still there. They're still guarding. They're still doing the job. Here, they're like, you know what? I'm not. I'm done with it. Either something has walked in and caused me to not do this, or I have just simply laid it down and given it up. Um, but this is really fast moving energy. So it's almost like they would be running, they would be rolling down a hill almost, falling over themselves as they were giving up. But here with the Queen of Wands in reverse, it's like they're having their masks stripped from them. So this is really complex. And I'm just trying to figure out how best to put the words out there to wrap words around what I'm feeling because it's out of control with how fast things are moving. That's why they're like tumbling down a hill and they're trying to just sort of sit down and give up. But it's like there's a rush of energy rolling over them, and it's the truth. So the Queen of Wands in the reverse is not always the truth, but in this case it is. So in the upright, it is a passionate, fiery queen. The Queen of Wands is intense. She is also a get things done at any cost sort of queen. And so sometimes that one of the ways that she'll do it is to, I'm not going to say lie, but to wear a mask, to be something that she isn't quite, you know. And so in this case, that's what I'm seeing in this reversed Queen of Wands. The mask is being removed, but it's being removed kind of at a clip. And so there's the super fast moving energy that could be a good thing or a bad thing. But in this case, for this person, it's really just overwhelming and disorienting. You know, they're trying to lay down their their wand here and sort of just rest. And there's this fast moving energy just sort of bowling them over. And part of it is, you know, you're going to be yourself. You're not going to wear masks. You are being forced into a situation. This person, you, can see right through it. And so this is tough for them. This is tough for them, and that creates a lot of anxiety. I was wondering why, when they think about you, they think anxiety, and I don't have a choice here. I get that maybe there's a relationship here, but it's really this. It's really the fact that when they're with you, they don't have all of those masks that they want to wear. They kind of fall away. They don't really work. Which, you know, in order for this person and for you to come together, you'd have to get past a couple of things. And one of them would be this person's incredible fear. And I wonder if that's maybe not what we're seeing over here. So I see what I originally thought was a lack of discernment, but I think instead what it is probably more of a willingness to be vulnerable. So let's take a look here into this Queen of Pentacles now. And we've got the Queen of Pentacles was, remember, that was the obstacle, right? It was the thing that was in the way. It was that, what is it that you're struggling with in this relationship? And the issue is that we saw you had begun to pull your self-worth together, and when you did, all of a sudden you weren't going to tolerate disappointments like this anymore. And they are very aware that they're being seen, even though there's an incredible magnetism between the two of you. I don't know if they can see the magnetism and quite understand that, as well as they can understand their fear around it. And so you have a lot of them being anxious, them overthinking, them feeling like they don't have choices. Let's look more into this Queen of Pentacles, understand what's going on there. I love that they made Maud the Queen of Pentacles. All right, so let's see, because that's an incredibly strong energy. It's not usual that you would see energy of the Queen of Pentacles being in the way of something. But in this case, you know, it does make some sense. So these out a little bit. I just want to make sure that we're able to see all the artwork and everything. Okay. All right. So we have the Ten of Pentacles in reverse to help clarify this Queen of Pentacles. Oh, and there's the Hermit that has also come out. All right. So interesting. The Queen of Pentacles, remember, is your struggle. It's the thing that's causing you to not be able to smoothly move through this relationship together. The Ten of Pentacles, remember when I said the Queen of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles were the heads of household for the Ten of Pentacles? And the Ten of Pentacles is this beautiful situation where you have everything, the resources are all aligned. It's really just a beautiful situation. And so here, with it being in the reverse, it's that feeling of, okay, but this can't really be that situation. I have my own self-worth and I recognize some of these patterns that are happening here. Maybe some of these patterns, and by maybe I mean definitely, some of these patterns that you're witnessing here are part of the cycle that you have historically gone through, but now you recognize it and you're like, nope, that tower is the big nope. It's the, I have a new perspective. This is not going to work for me. And so it results in disappointment for both of you. But here's the Hermit. So the Hermit is able to walk away and just be by herself for a little while. So this Hermit, if you look at her, she's closing her laptop, she's walking away and just kind of disconnecting for a little while. And I guess you could say that in modern times that is one of the ways that somebody could choose to hermit up and go into their thinking cave. And so that is kind of the response that it looks like the response that both of you are having, but your person is hidden. That's not the same as hermiting. Walking away and saying, I've got to think this through a little bit. It's throwing a little bit into the wrench into the works for your person, because then they can't still see you and feel you out there when they've got that little bit of almost spying and watching you energy. This makes it difficult to watch. But by the same token, you're the Queen of Pentacles. Um, you already understand that what you've experienced up here, as much of a magnetic person as this is, you're not really going to be able to function in that world. You already know there's too much anxiety, there's too much tension, there are too many masks that are still on here. This person is having their masks removed and they're not really okay with it. You need to be in a conversation with a person where they are okay with it. And so it's a matter of your person getting to that place. But I wonder if maybe that's what's happening, because we've got this Five of Swords here in reverse. And that's sort of it's not the opposite of the, like, if you saw the Nine of Swords in reverse, obviously you can't do that because that's up here. But with the Five of Swords in reverse, it's almost giving me that same sort of vibe. But it's some of that tension falling away. So let's take a look to see what would clarify the Five of Swords in reverse. Looks like we had one that came out. We have the Hierophant in reverse. All right, so there's something really traditional here that folks are feeling like they need to hang on to. And you're going to figure out, somebody's going to figure out somewhere in here, hold on. We don't have to hold on to that tradition. This doesn't have to look a certain way. And then we have the Three of Wands. It's the, you've set something into motion and now you're just sort of waiting for it to manifest. So this is your next step. The next step is a little bit less anxiety. It's that realization things may not always be, they may not look the traditional way. This is okay. And it's not just the realization, it's also the acceptance of the fact that the situation may not come out exactly as traditional as maybe you pictured it on the way in. Maybe both of you pictured it on the way in, certainly your person. And then it's a matter of having set things into motion to actually be able to see things start to manifest and start to change. So I'm super interested to learn a little bit more about what this means because I feel like it's a little bit vague to me. I understand that tensions fall away. New realization allows you to be able to move forward in what appears to be, a pretty positive and productive way. But what exactly does that mean? So this is everything being on hold. Um, the energy that they have around you is definitely not helping things to move forward quickly. So I'm curious to understand how things smooth out here. What I'd like to understand is what really does happen next here. What does it look like as things are starting to smooth out? If maybe this is that next energy that we're moving into, what happens next? What happens after that? What is it that you're waiting for? What does it look like that's maybe not so traditional? So let's understand that. The other thing that I'd like for us to look at in the extended is going to be kind of this closer look at these two decks right here, or these two piles right here. And it's just kind of, there's a lot of anxiety when they think about you. They feel like they don't have a choice. They feel like this relationship bowled them over. What else can we learn about this? We can feel so much attraction and mutually, so much attraction and coming together. But tell us more about how they're truly feeling because one of the things that I'm not really seeing here is how they're truly feeling. I see how they're responding and the first things that maybe come to mind. But I'd like to understand, dig in maybe a little bit deeper on how they're truly feeling. Um, and then I'd also like to understand what bridges us from this energy that we're in right now all the way over to even to this. This is that next step that sort of allows things to smooth out a little bit. So I'd like to get into that a little bit. And I think that's what we'll do in the extended. So this is pretty cool. We have a situation, it's definitely not comfortable, but it looks like it's moving in the right direction. And it is the pivot point that everything is moving around is your self worth. The fact that you have this self worth is the thing that made everything go, hold on, wait a minute over here. It is the thing that is causing your person to reevaluate because this is that decisive forward action, but it's like, hold on, I'm thinking, I want to move, I want to work together. I want to, I want to learn to accept this, and it's bizarre because both of these feel very similarly in the way that they answer the question. Um, this person is like overwhelmed and flooded with emotion and still trying to navigate despite the fact that they feel all of this. There's still this effort for them to get their head above water and to work with you and to be vulnerable and to pay attention. They're watching you on some level, which you may now make very difficult by hermiting and going offline and things like that. But there is something that helps to shift you to almost a calmer situation. I'm curious to understand what that looks like. So, we're going to go on out into the extended now and learn a little bit more about your situation if you'd like to join me there. If this resonated with you, please remember to like and share and subscribe so that we can stick together. Um, but absolutely. Let's go learn a little bit more about this over in the extended. And if I won't see you over in the extended, then have a great day and I will see you in the next reading. And last but not least, let's take a look at pile three. So if you picked pile three, that is where I rolled the die and Scorpio, the sign for Scorpio came up. So if that is meaningful to you, perhaps that is why you chose pile three. We're going to be reading from the Avatar The Last Airbender deck, and then I will clarify for you with the Tarot of the Spirit. So, again, we're taking a look at your situation with your person. There's been some kind of shift, and now we're going to take a look in and just kind of see what is going on with things in the current situation. So, let's look first at the current energy of what's flowing between the two of you. That's the first thing that we'll look at. Oh, and we have the world. Okay, so this is the fancy one. So this is an interesting deck because for a few of the major arcana, there are multiples. So there are two world cards in here, and this one is, I don't know if you're able to really see that, but it's iridescent. So you've got the world. That's just an amazing energy. That's your current energy between the two of you. I can't wait to clarify this. Let's zoom in on just them and get the current energy that is happening around your person right now. Oh, let's see. We got um, Ace of Coins, and I do just take that top card unless I'm guided to take more than one. So we've got the Ace of Coins in reverse. That's like the Ace of Pentacles. So coins, Pentacles, Earth energy. This is like a door not opening. This is something that is not beginning. When it is in the upright and you've got a door that is opening, it is the slowest energy in the tarot. Okay. But in the reverse here, it's not opening. And I'd like to understand a little bit more about that. So we'll see when we clarify. But that's the energy that's happening with your person. So they're experiencing this right now. They could be experiencing a little bit of a disappointment or some situation where a door is not opening. So let's take a closer look and see how they're feeling about you, too. We're going to look and see how they're feeling about you, how they're feeling about the relationship. But first, let's look to see how they're feeling about you. So we've got the Four of Swords in reverse. All right. And so the Four of Swords in reverse. It's about not feeling healed. So when they think about you, the first thing they realize is what they haven't quite had the opportunity to heal, or what they haven't quite healed yet about themselves. It's kind of a self-conscious sort of feeling that we have there. It doesn't always come across that way. Each one of these cards has so many different meanings that you could pick, or that you could feel. And I'm just telling you, oh, here's the one that immediately jumps out at me. Sometimes it's a little bit multifaceted, but in this case, they're not healing. They feel a little sheepish about that. So let's see what's happening with the energy of really how they're feeling about the relationship itself. Let's get a feel for that. So we've got the Two of Coins, and we'll just take that one. The Two of Coins, it's so that's balance. This relationship brings them a balance. It's like being on a tightrope, and this relationship makes them feel like they can do the tightrope. Interesting. All right. I'm curious to understand though what is in the way. So what that's what we're going to look at here. We've got a situation where there are some struggles. We don't exactly know what they are. Your person's immediate energy is kind of that of a door not opening. They're feeling like they're not healed enough for some reason, and that's what they feel when they think about you. Makes them feel a little bit guilty. So we know that there is a bit of a challenge there. We also know that there's like this amazing happy ending energy between the two of you right now. So maybe you're maybe you're one of those couples that has come together here in the last. I keep hearing about people that have actually had the opportunity to come together, but when they do, it's like, well, but things still aren't right. Things are still very challenging. Or it could just be, and this is something that I also have talked with a couple of you about, the energy between the two of you. And this probably started right around the time of the full moon. The energy between the two of you has gotten really smooth and really beautiful and really perfect. And that's why I wondered if that's why we were getting the holographic one, just to show us the portion of it that's in the 5D. But it just that there's this beautiful coming together of the energies. But again, that could be true of with these people. They're still in separation, and so there's still this door not opening, and their person's feeling the door not opening. And let's see what is that struggle though. Oh, this is the one we want? Okay, so it's the Knight of Wands and it's in reverse. And it's interesting when the cards all spill out, there'll be one that's like, here, take me. Or sometimes it's more than one, but it's usually just one. So the Knight of Wands in reverse is, well, all right. So in the upright, the Knight of Wands is very active. Like it's a card of action, but it is a passionate forward movement sort of action. The issue here, the struggle that the two of you are having is really the opposite of that. It's the opposite of the passionate forward movement. It's the door not opening. We'll clarify here in a minute and get a little bit closer to that. But first, let's understand what's likely to happen for you next. And so this is not necessarily, your future, what is going to happen down the road. This is more of a what is the energy favorable for it to happen right now? You have your own free will, so things can always change, but what is likely to occur here based on the energies and the ways that they are laid out right now? Interesting. Remember, I told you that there were two of these major arcana in the deck, and that one of them was holographic in this case. So this is wild. And so what we're seeing in your current energy is the coming together, the happy ending, the beautiful sort of experience. But we're seeing in the next is that something isn't over. This is not the opposite of coming together. This is not the opposite of a happy ending. This is simply something not quite being over. So we'll have to clarify um, to get a better feel for kind of what's happening there. But I am definitely intrigued. I can't believe I just had two major arcana come out in the same spread, and I only pulled six cards, and two of them were the world. What are the odds? Anyway, let's go ahead and clarify. Again, I'm clarifying with Tarot of the Spirit, and we're clarifying that first world, the holographic world that's in your current energy. So tell us a couple of cards, a little bit about the world that's sitting in that first position there. That is one of my very favorite cards anyway, just taking this top one. And we have the Nine of Wind. Did I have one turn over in here? No, I didn't. I thought I might have them, and I thought I didn't feel it, but I might have seen it with my eyes. So we have the, oh, here is the Empress. Huh. Well, this is a nice big fat message. Let's see here. So we have the world and we have the nine of wind, which is like that's like the nine of swords, but it's in reverse. And so here you see the alleviation of anxiety. Here you see development into something amazing. And the Empress truly is amazing. So the balanced Empress, and this is a balanced Empress, is all four of the best sides of each of the four queens put together. So she's nurturing, she's emotionally just unending levels of love. She's fully capable of taking care of everything, of everyone. She's also capable of leading, taking charge, making sure that there's sufficient passion, making sure that everything sort of moves forward. She's logical, she's decent, she's intelligent, she communicates well. The Empress is truly, truly the full package when she's balanced. And this is the balanced Empress. And so what we see here is this situation where, and this Empress energy is like it seems rote to say it's you, but it's like it's you, okay? This is part of why you have the holographic world in the upright in your current energy, because you have done some real work to get to this place. But here your person has too. So here is a person who has in the past felt a lot of anxiety, a lot of demons, difficult things, and then, difficulty sleeping, things like that. And now all of a sudden, maybe not all of a sudden, but what you see is the two of you coming together in sort of, and like I said, this could be 5D for a couple who is not currently in communication. Could be 3D though, because I know a couple of you, it is actually 3D, but I know a couple of you it's 5D. And this is still incredibly beautiful energy, regardless of how it's happening. Um, but let's take a look at this Ace of Coins. So this is the Ace of Coins in reverse. This is your person's energy, and it feels like a door not opening. So what would clarify that? You've got a door not opening for your person. And these cards, it's always interesting to see how the modifiers come out and really just help us to understand things that we never would have understood otherwise. Okay, so we have the sense of a door not opening, and your person knows how to find their happiness. That's what's in their current energy. Also, because remember, this world is also in their current energy. This is part of what's happening for them. So it almost makes me feel like that if this is your reading, this is happening in the 5D. You are getting closer with them. You are aligning with them, maybe even during your meditations or in the 5D. That's the easy button, by the way, because it's hard to get together and in people in dreams with people, but you can do it in meditations quite easily. But they still there's a little bit of frustration here because there's this sense of um, not being able to get the door to open, not being able to have it in the 3D. Maybe they saw my meditation video from a few days ago and a few readings ago, and they decided to give that a try, and everything's working out really well, but they would like to see something happen in the physical realm. So we have the father of wind also in okay. So the father of wind, this is like the king of swords. It's in the reverse, and what it's telling us is really the king of swords in the reverse, this king of swords in the reverse is not taking a step back to look at the big picture. So your person's not seeing a door open. They're feeling like they're missing out on the happiness, but they know that there's happiness inherent here and they're just waiting for it to happen. What they don't realize is the way has already been paved, but they can't realize it because they haven't taken the step back to look at the big picture. So this is actually a little bit more positive than it originally seemed, which is kind of what I was getting at. Sometimes when you pull these cards and you see something, it's not super clear until you get some clarifiers on them, what's really going on there. So your person just wants to be happy, like you, like anyone. And what they don't realize is they have all of the tools to be happy, and they're kind of not feeling it right now. So when we look at how they are feeling about you, they feel a little bit sheepish, like I was saying about not feeling quite healed. I'm curious though, is it like intimidation or is it not feeling up to par? Um, so let's get a couple of clarifier cards for the Four of Swords and maybe we can understand. These cards just kind of want to go all over the place today. Some days they're a little bit cleaner and they just pop out, and other times not so much. So just taking that top card, we have the One of Water. This is like the Ace of Cups, but it's in reverse. So, okay, that's the flow of emotion. Something is stemming the flow of emotion and it's their guilt. So let's look a little bit more into that. Oh, and we have the Fool. Okay, so there's a little bit of that actual fool in this, feeling like a fool. And that, but this is still the I took a chance, I jumped in, and I felt kind of silly having done it. Um, I feel like I'm not healed enough to do this. Feel like I'm not quite ready to be the person that you need. And so you see, this one says open channel. This Ace of Cups or this One of Water says open channel. And in the reverse, it's very much a closed channel. Not unlike what we've seen sometimes with the Ace of Cups, where something happens and it causes them to shut down. It's kind of like that, but it's like a faucet this person turns off. And it turns off because of the shame and the guilt. They feel bad about not being more healed and not being more ready for you. And in all reality, if they just took a step back and that healing and that additional development would help them to recognize that. So they're not entirely wrong. Yes, it is some of their lack of development that's causing them to have trouble. But if they were to kind of loosen up, take a couple deep breaths, and stop letting the anxiety get the better of them, they would recognize that it's beautiful that they reached out, and that it doesn't make them look like a fool. There's no reason to be sheepish about not having figured everything out just yet. Go ahead and let it flow. That's actually what they're going to figure out down the road. Um, okay, so let's look at this Two of Coins and how they feel about the relationship. And remember, the Two of Coins is about balance. It's this relationship balances them out. So even though you're giving them this, they have this realization that they kind of aren't ready. They aren't ready to be the person that you want them to be. It makes them feel a little bit foolish for having jumped in there. It also causes them to shut down a little bit. One of the things that makes them really not want to shut down is that you give them this feeling of such balance. So we've got one that came out already, and it's the Two of Water, like the Two of Cups. That's partnership, beautiful bond. Um, it says on the card sacred cord, okay? And that's like the cord of connection between the two of you. This is part of what helps to balance them out. It's like you're making them feel whole. and they feel like that's not great because they should feel whole by themselves. Perhaps they should, um, but that's something they're not that far along in their development yet. If they were, they'd be able to take that step back and realize they already have what it takes to make them happy. But at this point, it's like this. It looks like self sabotage, but in no way to them does it feel like self sabotage. To them, it feels like casting about looking for a solution. So we've got the Two of Coins, which is just how you make them feel so amazing in this relationship, so balanced, like you could do anything, and it lulls them into what they consider to be kind of this false sense of security, because this is like that power couple vibe too. There's definitely this power couple sort of super strong bond vibe between the two of you. Um, but then we have Four of Water, which we've seen this card before, but in this spot, in this time, the one that really sticks out to me is the words on the bottom that are the flood, okay? And this is an interesting thing because it's like a flood of emotion. It's too much they can't take. Not usually what the Four of Water or what the Four of Cups means. Usually it's more of a disappointment card. And to be sure, there is definitely some disappointment in there, but that's it's really they get flooded. They can't believe how strong this bond is or the cord that connects the two of you. It's a little overwhelming to them. So let's take a look here at this Knight of Wands. So this was the thing that was getting in the way, and it seems like a lack of impetus because in the upright, remember the Knight of Wands is fast, passion, forward, passionate movement. Um, Here we have the Sister of Water, which you would recognize as being like the Page of Cups. So that's a communication, like a small, loving communication, which would really be all that was needed. Just open up and give that small, loving communication, but that impetus is not here. It's like they can't do the forward, passionate movement. There's something really holding them back. Lack of strength, too much fear. So, strength is always an answer to something, and it's usually an answer to fear of some kind. And here we have this lack of impetus to move forward. It's really difficult for me to move forward. All they really need to be able to do is just put that. The door isn't opening partially because they can't just be vulnerable and put that out there. Small emotional communication. It doesn't have to be much for you to be able to come together with them. But they're having some trouble with the strength and just putting together the confidence to be able to do it. They are very used to sitting here and not doing it. It's much easier not to. So let's take a look at the world card, our second world of the reading. And remember, this is in the future space. So this one was interesting because it's interesting because well, not just because there's two of them on the table, but also because it's that sense of something not being over. So we have the Father of Water, which is like the King of Cups, and then we have the Hanged Man, and that is, and they're both in reverse. All of these cards are in reverse. So as we look at the world here, I'm trying to figure out if I could just hold them, and the world is in reverse, and so that's something not being over. It's a story that a cycle that hasn't ended. It's a story that's not quite over. But this is interesting. This is what's likely to happen for you in the near future, kind of a next step. And as I look at it, I want to understand even more about it because this Father of Water, which is like I said, like the King of Cups in reverse, that is about someone kind of losing their cool and actually saying, "Here's what I feel," you know. The Father of Water in the upright is very concerned with looking a certain way emotionally. He wants to be emotionally stable. He wants to come across as emotionally stable. Okay. And in the upright, that's how it comes across. But when it came out reversed, and so coming out reversed tells us he may not appear as stable as he likes to appear. But there's more to it, and this is a bit of a complication. So the Hanged Man in the upright typically, well, in this case, would have meant that there is a new perspective. Someone has a new perspective. Your person has a new perspective. What I'm seeing here, though, is they've gone to get this new perspective, but they've not quite gained it. They've gotten a little bit frustrated. They're sort of losing their cool. But the net result is you learning that things are not over, where maybe today you're inclined to believe that they are. So I'm super interested to understand what's happening with that. We are going to go into an extended with this, and I will take a look. One of the first things I want to look at is what is happening here, because this is moving forward, but it's not way forward. It's just, where does the energy take us? And the energy takes us to a place where your person has honestly reached out for some more of this healing and for some more of this learning, but hasn't quite gotten there. So remember, that's one of the they believe it's one of their shortcomings, that they aren't yet the person that you would want them to be. And it's true, they're not. They do have some bridges to cross, and they need to be able to learn how to have that impetus to actually just put forth that little communication that is what's needed to get things started. They have everything that they need. This current energy that flows between the two of you, one of the reasons that they can't get it out of their mind, and that you can't either, is because it is so beautiful and amazing. And actually, as you guys are making your strides forward, you're each clearing the path for the person that you're bonded to also make these. And you guys are very much bonded. It helps them make their strides as well. So you guys are kind of sort of pulling each other along, even though it's not super evident in the physical realm. And to your person, it definitely isn't. To them, they still feel like doors are not opening. I'm not good enough for this. I'm not ready to go forward with this. And that, of course, compounds the issue where they're not actually ready to pick up the phone and send a text, or get in touch with you and say that little thing that needs to start the communication. But they want to, because you are the force that gives them that balance, you and your connection. But it's a little overwhelming to them. And so they're trying to figure out how to kind of balance that. There will be an attempt, there will be movement in the future. There will be an attempt to do something, but it's not super evident to me how it's going to turn out. And that's why I want to look a little bit more into it in the extended, to understand. So this feels like a little bit of an outpouring right here, but not one that they would have scripted or wanted to do. So what does that end up looking like, especially given that they have not come to that learning that they wish they had come to? They don't feel like they have that new perspective. They don't have what they need. And that's the best case, because it also could be that they don't have the new perspective, but they don't realize that they lack it, which I don't know how true that is, because up here I feel like they do realize that they lack it. We're going to take a closer look, not just at what's going to happen here, but also let's learn a little bit more about how they're feeling about you, because I'm actually seeing it kind of across, well, really across all of these piles, but mostly I'm hearing I'm intimidated. I feel a little bit foolish. I am stemming the flow of communication, desire, emotion, because of this shame that I feel, but you are really what balances me out and makes me feel complete. Oh, but by the way, I don't feel like I should need that. So let's look a little bit more closely into that, and maybe even into, I like to ask that bridging energy question, and it's kind of, what do you need? What do you need to bridge you from the energy where you are right now to the energy where you're ultimately going to be going, which we're going to learn a little bit about there. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Thanks for sticking around and for being here with me for pile three. If this did resonate with you, please remember to like and share and subscribe if you are so inclined. I'll see you over in the extended. But if not, then I would just say have a great rest of the day. Best of luck with your situation, and I'll see you at another reading.